Live streaming is on.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Francisco,
Welcome, my friend.
I just need to share my screen somehow.
Okay, in the part of the down,
Yeah, I see it.
The number 3 that with the arrow, you can do it. Okay.
Yes. So I. All right. I keep saying allow, but it's not doing it, so I'm not sure why. Allow. Is it sharing my screen?
No. I think that you need to.
All right. Maybe it's blocking me for some reason. Change this setting. You can change this setting in Safari website first. Okay, hold on a second. Preferences.
The little red light is on.
It's your.
All right.
Number 1.
You know, most kids, you start thinking at an early age, as soon as you look in the sky at night and you see stars, and
You can see.
you think, what would it be like to be up there?
No matter where we grow up, everybody looks up at the sky and says,
what else is out there?
I started saying I wanted to be an astronaut when I was 5 years old, according to my mom.
It was the beginning of our astronauts making their way up to the moon. I remember coming back like, what is this? How do I go do this? This looks like fun.
I looked at what NASA was doing. I want to be an astronaut. So, in a nutshell, that's kind of what happened.
I got into the Navy Test Pilot School and started to apply to NASA. There's like 6,000 people that applied for, 15 slots. And I interviewed 4 times over 12 years. I applied multiple times.
All right, is it there? Is it working? I think so. Perfect. All right. All right. Francisco, can you hear me? Can anybody hear me? Hold on a second. Okay, well, I'll just start off. My name is Joe Manafra.
And I can say sitting in the rocket, getting ready for launch, and you're anxious and you're excited.
And waiting for countdown, focusing on doing your checklist, focusing on your procedure.
At the moment of launch, we're quite prepared.
It lights off and you feel the rumble and then you start to move, and that constant smooth acceleration pulling you back in the seat.
And you feel like you're just in a car wreck.
Sorry, Job.
No worries. So you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can see my slides?
Yeah.
Perfect. Sorry. Okay. So I'll just start, and I apologize. Are you able to translate a little bit?
Yes, if I can, I do it.
So here's the thing. Each slide will have all the information you need to translate, so you don't have to remember what I say, okay?
Okay.
So I just introduced myself as Joe Manafra. I'm here. I work for the Solar System Exploration Research Virtual Institute, and that's a NASA program that studies the moon and asteroids and the moons of Mars.
Bueno, aquí mi amigo es Joseph Minafra, líder del Instituto de Innovación y Tecnología de la NASA, del Centro de Investigación y Exploración del Instituto Virtual, donde ellos principalmente estudian la Luna y el Sol.
There's my email address. If somebody has a question, they could actually ask you, Francisco, and you can get it. But if anybody speaks English, they can email me as well.
Ok, ahí está su correo por si alguien tiene alguna pregunta y quiere ahondar más en el tema.
The last slide will have it as well.
Perfecto.
Okay, so dare mighty things. This is a quote from Theodore Roosevelt, one of our presidents in the United States. And it was basically to empower people to think really hard on very difficult problems and try to solve them.
Ok, uno de los encargos del presidente ha sido que deba de empoderar a la gente para resolver cualquier problema.
So what I'm going to talk about today is our Mars missions. And here's a slide that shows you them. And you can see between 2001 and 2014, we had a couple of Mars missions.
Bueno, de lo que les va a hablar hoy es de los viajes a Marte, y podemos ver en esta diapositiva desde el 2001 al 2014 cómo ha evolucionado.
So they were 4 satellite missions and 2 rover missions.
Bueno, tenemos 4 misiones satelitales y 2 misiones de robot rover.
And so the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter is the most important one that mapped Mars' surface.
Bueno, y uno de los elementos más importantes es el estudio de Marte.
And the MAVEN mission was a newer mission that studied Mars' atmosphere.
Y una de las misiones es estudiar la atmosférica de Marte, la atmósfera de Marte.
And then Mars Opportunity is a rover that was not 1 but 2 rovers. One was called Spirit and one was called Opportunity.
Ok, y una de las principales formas de hacerlo es con los 2 robots, uno que se llama, could you repeat me the number? Uno es rover.
Opportunity is the rover that's on the side. It says Opportunity Mars Exploration Rover. There were actually 2 rovers. One was called Spirit and one was called Opportunity.
Uno es Spirit y el otro es Oportunidad.
And then we did our very large Mars Science Laboratory called Curiosity.
Y bueno, pues han explorado con un laboratorio muy grande con un robot que se llama Curiosity.
And Curiosity was looking for signs of water, signs of life for habitability.
Bueno, y su función más importante es el buscar la vida y el agua en Marte.
And so to move along, we actually, in 2018, you will see a rover by ESA called ExoMars rover.
Okay.
ESA is the European Space Agency.
Bueno, y están trabajando principalmente con un robot en el 2020 en combinación con la agencia europea.
And then finally, our rover that just landed in February called Perseverance.
Bueno, y para febrero creo que están por tener un robot que se llama Perseverancia.
All U.S. NASA rovers are named by students who win a prize for having the best name.
Bueno, y estos robots siempre son puestos como a concurso para elegir el nombre por estudiantes en Estados Unidos.
So the reason why we sent this latest rover, Perseverance, was because Curiosity back in 2014, basically in 2012 actually, it found pebbles that resemble those that you would find in a riverbed.
Bueno, al parecer yo le entiendo que el Curiosity encontró en 2014 algo de residuos de agua y de un río, y por eso mandaron el nuevo robot.
And NASA's quest for life requires that we find a place that has water or had water in the past.
Bueno, y NASA parece que encontró residuos de agua que en el pasado había agua ahí.
And so in studying the ground, the soil, Curiosity rover confirmed that the essential elements of life were on the surface of Mars.
Bueno, y con los estudios de Curiosity de la Tierra, pues tienen elementos para decir que ha habido o hubo vida en Marte.
So, Curiosity found carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen.
Bueno, y Curiosity encontró carbono y algunos otros elementos que no los conozco yo, pero encontró varios elementos.
Hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen.
Oxígeno y algunos otros que no los, bueno, no sé yo cómo traducirlos. Adelante.
Phosphorus and sulfur.
Ok, solventes y otras cositas.
Right, so those 6 elements make up 99% of the mass of all living things.
Bueno, y el 99% de estas cosas, de estos elementos nos da el 99% de que son elementos para la vida.
So because we proved that all of the elements that would support life were found on Mars because of Curiosity, the Mars Science Laboratory, we had to send another rover with the right instruments to actually look for that life.
Bueno, y esto pues les da elementos para enviar un nuevo robot a Marte para que analice con los mismos instrumentos pues las formas de vida de allá.
So Perseverance is the largest rover NASA has ever made and ever sent to another planet.
Perseverancia es el robot más grande que la NASA haya enviado a otro planeta, en este caso a Marte.
It's about 270 pounds more than Curiosity. It's the size of a car that would be like a Volkswagen Bug.
Es más grande que Curiosity y como 200 libras más y bueno, más grande.
So just to give you an idea of what our science objectives are, we have geological history that we're going to look for, and we're going to look for astrobiology, which is looking for signs of life, basically fossilized microorganisms. And then we're also going to collect samples for a later mission to return those samples back to Earth. And so you can read these for the audience.
Ya, bueno, aquí podemos ver los objetivos científicos del robot y bueno, pues los pueden leer ahí directamente en la diapositiva.
And so astrobiology, do people know what astrobiology is? It's the study of life in the universe. And it could be in extreme environments here on Earth, as well as possible how life would exist elsewhere in the solar system.
Bueno, la astrobiología es el estudio de la vida en el espacio y bueno, pues ellos están haciendo eso en todo el sistema solar.
So I worked with a lot of scientists who invented that term, astrobiology, about 20 years ago when I first started at NASA.
Bueno, pues tienen ya 20 años estudiando la astrobiología desde cuando Joseph estuvo en la NASA, según entiendo.
So this is an interesting thing. We have new technology that allowed our rover to autonomously find a really nice area to land without our help. And the reason for that is because the time delay between Mars and Earth is so long, 15 minutes to 30 minutes, it takes for a signal to go from Earth to Mars.
Bueno, aquí el robot cuenta con una tecnología nueva que puede buscar dónde aterrizar para que no se vaya a deteriorar, ya que hay una diferencia bastante notable entre la señal desde que sale de la Tierra hasta llegarle a Marte.
The reason we had to do this is because we needed to select the proper location to find life instead of a safe landing space. And so the area we chose, Jezero Crater,
Bueno, y esta razón es obviamente para que tenga seguridad en el aterrizaje y no lo entendí lo demás, pero bueno, yo creo que es el cuidar el robot para un aterrizaje seguro.
Jezero Crater it has a delta where an ancient river opened up into a lake.
Pues creo que aquí lo que quieren es encontrar como el río que desemboca en el lago, ¿no? Allá en Marte.
And so the terrain is very rough and very dangerous for a landing. Therefore, we had to have a system that could automatically look for the best location to land on its own.
Y esto, pues bueno, hace que el sistema, bueno, tenga dificultades, por lo cual él debe de seleccionar un espacio seguro para aterrizar tranquilamente.
So Francisco, you can read the picture and it tells you the steps. It took pictures and it compared those pictures to a map that it had on board, and it looked for landmarks and then found a place all on its own and diverted from any obstacles and landed.
Ok, bueno, usando sistemas de navegación le permiten un aterrizaje más, evitando, con menos riesgo, ¿no? Todo lo que va a ir trabajando. Y...
So we call it terrain relative navigation.
Y dice, hasta ahora muchos de estos sistemas de aterrizaje están fuera del alcance. Los riesgos de aterrizaje cambian por el terreno y usan Terrain Relative Navigation, sistemas de navegación relativa, ¿no? En Marte.
And so if people are curious, they can go to marsnasa.gov for everything I'm talking about today, just so if they wanted to spend time or do a translation in the website.
Sí, bueno, comenta que si tienen tiempo después de esta plática para poder desarrollar más conocimiento sobre esto y poder hacer una buena traducción, pues bueno, la incluiríamos o se podrían conectar.
So we pretty much explained about taking pictures and then finding the landing site. We also added a lot more cameras. We added over 23 cameras and a bunch of microphones that were never ever added to a rover before.
Bueno, pues cuentan con muchas fotografías para ver el proceso de cómo va llegando y aterriza, con muchas cámaras y muchos micrófonos para tener mejor idea de lo que está pasando con el robot.
And so a quick Google search will find sounds of Mars. We basically, it was the very first time we could actually record the sounds of the atmosphere in Mars, and they can listen to them freely on the internet.
Bueno, pues podemos checarlo en Google. Hay los sonidos de Marte, donde pueden, como nunca, experimentar lo que sucede en Marte, ¿no? En la atmósfera de Marte.
And then we also have other equipment for getting the landing site. We actually landed 16 feet from our target landing, which is unbelievable. It's like pinpoint accuracy. Never been done before.
Bueno, pues lo que nos comenta aquí Joseph es la precisión que tuvieron. O sea, realmente la diferencia es muy poca. Como nunca se había tenido antes el aterrizaje donde lo habían planeado hacer, pues realmente llegó a un ladito, ¿no? Muy cerca, muy cerca. como se ve en la imagen.
During landing, the rover was going over 200 miles an hour as fast as a race car. And so as soon as it selected a landing site, that is when the range trigger was able to deploy the parachute. And so it had to be a very specific time, otherwise the lander would overshoot or miss the target.
Bueno, aquí nos menciona algunos datos específicos de medidas y de cantidades que, bueno, pues después se los traduciré con subtítulos, donde nos menciona el rango, ¿no? y de la precisión del rover.
And then when it got very close, we didn't want the rover to hit the ground too hard. So we actually have a thing called a sky crane. And basically a couple of, well, maybe 10 or 20 feet above the landing site, the sky crane will hold the spacecraft and lower it very slowly with cables.
Bueno, aquí nos muestra la fotografía y él de cómo cuando va descendiendo el rover y entrando, bueno, a ese sky crane landing, que es como la parte donde va bajando de manera muy despacio por medio de esos cables que se le ven ahí, ¿no?
And like I said, feel free to read the screens. So this is just a cartoon or a picture of what the rover looks like with all its instruments.
Bueno, pues aquí tenemos una fotografía donde nos muestra el robot con todos los instrumentos y que después también podemos leer las diapositivas con más calma, ¿no? Como lo anterior.
And so this is a cartoon that shows you most of the important instruments, and there's just a lot that they should know, but some of them are done by international partners. You'll notice the different flags that are present.
Sí, bueno, aquí en esta imagen nos muestra los instrumentos más importantes y obviamente con la participación de otros países, bueno, de un grupo internacional donde nos muestra ahí las banderas de los países que participaron.
This is what we were talking about earlier today about collaboration with people from other teams and the help that we all need to do these very difficult tasks.
Bueno, y esto es de lo que platicaba en la mañana de cómo hay colaboración de equipos para trabajar en la ayuda de diferentes tareas.
Okay, I'm just going to go through a couple of the instruments that are on board just so people understand what's there. Every single one of them is a robotic instrument that has its purpose.
Bueno, pues él dice que nos quiere compartir un par de instrumentos que utilizan los robots y bueno, pues ya no le entendí mucho.
So I also have the name of the principal investigator on each of these slides, and they will also identify what country they come from. But just so you can read without having to worry what I'm saying, Francisco, is all of these slides will have a blue area on the bottom that tells you exactly what it's doing. And then the side text will give you some explanation that's probably easier to translate.
Okay.
But this instrument is called Mastcam Z, and it is put on the mast that extends out from the rover. And basically it will use to zoom in and focus and take 3D pictures and high-speed video.
Bueno, pues aquí nos dice que en la parte de abajo viene explicado en qué consiste el sistema, viene el nombre de la persona también que colabora, el nombre de este elemento, Manscan Z, que enfoca y toma imagen en 3D. Algo así.
The other camera we have, as I said, we have 23 different cameras. This camera has a laser, and a laser is used to break down the fluorescence and spectroscopy. This is to use to look at mineralogies and chemistry.
Bueno, pues este otro tipo de cámara tiene un láser que ayuda a ver elementos, para desintegrar algunos elementos y ver, bueno, las características de los mismos, ¿no?
And you notice this PI is French and Spanish collaborators. But the coolest thing is that somebody drives this rover and it shoots rocks with lasers on the surface of Mars. How cool is that?
Bueno, pues esto es muy interesante y la colaboración fue de personal de Francia y de España y pues es muy interesante cómo exploran las rocas en Marte.
Another sensor we call Pixel, and it's mounted on, again, on the masthead of the arm that extends from the rover. And this is able to look at rocks at different wavelengths of light, including X-ray. And you can see the pictures of the same rock, what it looks like under different lighting conditions. This tells us what type of rock it is and what made that rock.
Bueno, pues otro de los elementos es el Pixel Arm, que está montado en una de las cabezas del robot y bueno, sirve para analizar las rocas y inclusive con rayos X para ver la formación química de los mismos.
This technique is for looking at the composition of rocks at a very, very small level. And most likely, if we find life on Mars, it would have been microscopic.
Bueno, en este caso, pues ayuda a analizar las rocas microscópicamente y pues bueno, conocer más sobre la superficie de Marte, ¿no?
This is another instrument called Sherlock, and it's just like the book about Sherlock Holmes. This investigates the environment for organic material. And organic material is basically elements and things that would be carbon related, just like we find here on Earth for living things.
Bueno, este es otro sensor que se llama Sherlock, como el investigador, porque investiga pues los componentes biológicos que pueda tener la superficie, ¿no? de Marte.
Another instrument on board is called Moxie, and it's an oxygen in situ resource utilization experiment. So what that means, in situ means in place. So if you were to go to Mars and you needed water, you would want to extract the water from there. That's called in situ.
Bueno, pues este es otro instrumento que se le conoce con el nombre de Moxie y es para conocer dónde podría haber oxígeno por si fuéramos a Marte, tener la capacidad de encontrar oxígeno.
And so if you notice, Mars is like a desert. There's no trees. And because there's no trees, there's no way to convert the carbon dioxide to oxygen like here on Earth.
Bueno, pues allá en Marte, como no hay árboles, pues no tiene la capacidad de convertir de generar oxígeno como aquí en la Tierra.
And so this machine actually converts the carbon dioxide that's present all over the Mars environment and converts it to oxygen. We are trying to see whether we can actually make oxygen for human habitation if we do go to Mars with people.
Bueno, pues este equipo lo que sirve para convertir de la superficie algunos elementos en oxígeno que pudiera ser fundamentales por si la gente de la Tierra fuera a Marte a visitarlo y pues tener con qué respirar, ¿no?
Carbon dioxide usually comes from us exhaling or animals breathing, but it also comes from geological processes, which is what we're finding this is where the carbon dioxide comes from on Mars. It comes from volcanic sources.
Bueno, ya ven que en la respiración uno requiere, bueno, entendí no muy bien sobre estos elementos que allá pues no es. Sorry, I don't understand that.
No worries, but the carbon dioxide currently found on Mars is from geological volcano eruptions. Yeah, that's where it comes from. It's not coming from organic life.
Ok, casi la superficie mayor de Marte es volcánica y por lo tanto no es superficie con vida, ¿no? Orgánica, perdón.
And another instrument, it's called META. It's a temperature, humidity, wind, dust analyzer. Basically, this is from Spain, and it makes the weather measurements at several sensor locations on the rover, like wind and speed and direction, temperature and humidity. Also the size of dust particles in the atmosphere.
Ok, en este caso el instrumento que nos está explicando es el conocido como MEDA y es, bueno, fue aportación de los españoles y sirve para medir la temperatura, la velocidad del viento y de las partículas que hay en la superficie de Marte.
So the Martian atmosphere is about 100 times thinner than that of Earth, or about 1% of Earth, actually. It's a very thin atmosphere.
Bueno, la atmósfera de Marte es como el 1% de la atmósfera terrestre, algo así. Es muy delgada, muy ligera.
Okay, we did that one. There we go. And then another instrument is the radar imager for Mars surface experiment. This uses radar waves to probe the ground under the rover. And it looks for signals, sonograms, for structures underneath the Martian surface. So it's looking for possible water underneath the rocks, such as ice or sand or liquid water.
Bueno, otro de los sensores o instrumentos que tiene este robot es un sensor un radar de imagen que puede analizar si hay abajo agua o de las rocas o de la superficie que vaya sensando.
It can actually, it's a ground penetrating radar that goes down 500 meters in depth. So it goes pretty far down into the surface.
Órale. Bueno.
You can read the blues, you can read the blue.
Este sensor tiene una capacidad de sensar una profundidad de 500 metros por debajo de la Tierra, entonces, bueno, está bien potente ese radar.
And again, this experiment, this equipment comes from Norway.
Este equipo es de Noruega, o sea, es aportación de Noruega.
And then we have this little creature called the Ingenuity Helicopter, which is amazing. It'll be the first manned flight of any craft on another planet ever done.
Bueno, pues este es un sorprendente helicóptero llamado Ingenuity, el cual pues, es considerado el primer helicóptero fuera de la superficie terrestre, creo.
And so it's very challenging because the air is so thin that we have to use this double rotor technology, and the rotors have a very sharp angle of attack, and they go very fast. They go about 5 times faster than a rotorcraft would here on Earth because of the thin atmosphere.
Bueno, pues este elemento, Cuenta con 2 hélices y un sistema motriz que la verdad es muy, muy rápido comparado con los que vuelan aquí en la Tierra. Y 20 a 30 segundos, bueno, es sumamente más veloz que cualquier otro que hubiéramos visto aquí en la Tierra.
It's about 2,400 revolutions per minute.
2400, 20,400 revoluciones por minuto, creo.
And it uses solar power to power. It has to take 24 hours to charge its battery for a 90-second flight.
Bueno, pues tiene su alimentación por paneles solares o la energía y le sirve para volar bastante tiempo de independencia.
So this is just a demonstration. There's no instruments on board. There's a camera on board, obviously. It's going to take pictures and show that we can actually fly manned flight on another planet.
Bueno, pues estos son algunas de las cosas que nos muestra en fotografía de lo que el hombre hace en otro planeta, ¿no? En este caso, Marte.
And there's one more thing I forgot to mention, actually. It also is going to be collecting rock samples from the surface of Mars, investigating those rock samples, and then storing them in containers that will be picked up later by another rover.
Bueno, pues algo que no les había mencionado también es que tienen o están haciendo una colección de rocas de la superficie marciana y bueno, para tener una mayor investigación para enviar otro robot allá. Y bueno, pues aquí nos muestra sus datos.
Yes, so what's amazing is that we have many more missions planned, and that we will have another rover go and collect these canisters and send them back out into space to another craft who will return those samples to Earth.
Bueno, pues estas son de las misiones que están, de las muchas misiones que tiene la NASA y para colectar muestras y después regresar esas muestras aquí a la Tierra con otro sistema, ¿no?
So those are the complex, really crazy robotic things that we're doing here at NASA in a nutshell. And your experience, you're at the beginning stages to actually be able to work on projects like this. So just so you know, Mexico has a space agency and they are building rovers themselves, and you will learn a lot that could provide a career in the future.
Bueno, pues esta es una gran oportunidad para aprender habilidades de este tipo y poder colaborar con los proyectos que tiene tanto la NASA como la Asociación Mexicana del Espacio o algo así de aquí de México, y pues que también están desarrollando sus propios robots aquí. Así es que aprovechen eso, jóvenes, para continuar aprendiendo.
So there's my name and my email again, and I appreciate everybody's time and listening, and hope that they continue to look forward to the rover on Mars. Perseverance is exciting research, and the first flight of our helicopter, Ingenuity, on April 8th.
Bueno, pues aquí están de nuevo los datos, sus datos, Joseph Binafra, de su correo, y bueno, pues está muy encantado de participar con nosotros y que en abril van a hacer otro vuelo del robot que tienen allá en Marte.
Well, thank you so much, Francisco. Thank you for all your help in translation. Like I said, I hope everyone got something from this.
Bueno, Joseph dice que muchas gracias por la traducción. Yo siento que la traducción no fue al 100, pero ojalá y pudieran ver la presentación y dirigirse a la NASA a los archivos que están viendo y le puedan mandar a él un correo para si les quedó alguna duda. La verdad, una disculpa por mi falta ahí de conocimiento en el área espacial. Pero muchas gracias, Mr. Joseph Minafra. Have a good day and enjoy your day. But thank you for this opportunity that you give us to know about Mars and maybe in the future you give another conference about the new challenge that you are exploring every day and continues.
Well, I am working on a new mission called Viper, and it's going to the moon, and it's much like the rover that we just explored on Mars. It'll be going to the moon to find resources for us to continue to use the moon as a platform.
Okay.
As we move forward. So I can do one on that in the future when we're ready to do that.
Ok, excelente. Nos dice que está haciendo un proyecto de investigación para explorar la Luna y que para conseguir más recursos y estar o más investigación pues sobre ese plan, en este caso esta asteroide a la Luna y poder después en un futuro platicarnos sobre eso. Pues muy bien. Joseph, how do you want to, if you want to else to say?
Yeah, so that mission's called Viper, but just so you know, Mexican Space Agency is building small lunar rovers right now, and we have been talking to them about testing them in my lab. And so I just wanted everyone to know that Mexico is actually building rovers that are going to go to the moon.
Okay,
and
bueno.
So be on the lookout for that when they release that information, because I think it's really exciting, and hopefully we'll get some Mexican instruments on our rovers in the future, and we'll all work together just like you do in RoboRave.
Excelente. Bueno, pues nos comenta que él en su proyecto Viper está teniendo colaboración directa con la Agencia Espacial Mexicana y que, pues bueno, ellos están haciendo microrobots también para explorar la Luna y están usando tecnología mexicana. Entonces, RoboRay es una parte fundamental para trabajar ese tipo de colaboraciones y ojalá y podamos pronto ser parte de estos proyectos.
Muchas
gracias. Apreciamos.
Muchas gracias.
We appreciate your collaboration with us, and thank you very much, Mr. Joseph Minafra. See you in the next one, and thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. You too. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good luck with everything.
Yeah, thank you.